Coming up next on Access Framingham, baseball parks with my special guest, Dave Hornfischer. Stay tuned. Hello, I'm Jack Barron, host of Travels with Jack, and this is our 2022 series. And today on Access Framingham TV, where guests share with our audience a recent trip, a vacation, a cruise, or maybe a day trip right here in New England, you'll see their photos and videos and hear about the exciting places they have visited. Today, Dave Hornfischer returns to Travels with Jack. Dave is host of Fan to Fan, a sports interview program here on AFTV. He's had a lifelong love of baseball, is an active player in the Eastern Massachusetts Senior Softball League, although he doesn't look like a senior. Over the years, with his wife Elsa and his family and friends, Dave has visited dozens of baseball parks, major and minor league, as well as youth parks and related sports museums. Today, we will all enjoy his photos and stories of Dave's baseball adventures. And what parts of the world have you visited? Please be our guest on Travels with Jack. Share your travel experiences with our viewing audience. To do so, just contact us here at Access Framingham Television and let us know you'd like to be a guest. You can phone AFTV at 508-875-5434, or you can send an email message to info@accessfram.tv. One of our associate producers will contact you to make arrangements for you to be on our show here on Access Framingham TV. If you don't live in Massachusetts, we would be pleased to assist with your travel to the Access Framingham studios. Now, let me welcome Dave Hornfischer back to Travels with Jack. Dave, welcome back.
Great to be with you.
And just a quick note, Dave has been a longtime Framingham resident and is a former chief financial officer for Berklee College of Music in Boston. Dave is currently retired and will be sharing with us today, as we recently mentioned to you, several of his visits to different parks in the United States. I don't know if you're going to show any Cuba, but we had you as a guest showing Cuba.
We'll have some of that.
So we'll add Cuba. Dave has been a lifelong baseball fan, and park visitations and critiques of the parks are one of his hobbies. And let's go, Dave. So, Bill, if you can, throw on a few pictures and we'll start talking about how you got or where your first trip was. And this, it looks to me like Fenway Park.
That is Fenway Park opening day, and with the players and owners impasse at the present time as we do this in early 2022, this isn't going to happen right now. But yeah, it's a great place to open with. Is opening day. There's nothing quite as much fun to a baseball fan as going to opening day and seeing all the players line up on the field, and usually a few guests. And over the years, I've been fortunate to be at many of Fenway openers, and baseball is more than Fenway Park. And
let me interrupt you. Your hat you're wearing today.
Well, we'll get to that. That's the Red Sox new ballpark in Worcester, the
Woo Sox. Yes.
Yes.
And that's going to be where your opening day will be this year, I gather.
I guess
because
so.
I don't think the Red Sox are opening right away.
Well, even if the Red Sox open in July, they'll call it opening day.
It will always be opening day, yeah.
Yeah.
So for those fans of ours who are watching the show, the Red Sox are on a delayed opening. They've got, I guess, union issues between the owners and the players. Where is this good-looking park?
Okay, well, you know, you have to get beyond Fenway, and so you start to drive. And many parks, many parks I've just seen from the highway. This is St. Louis. This is the home of the Cardinals in St. Louis. We were out visiting friends out there, and we went there. There's a couple more coming up here of St. Louis. They have a lovely outdoor pavilion where even if you're not in the park, you can sit and enjoy a drink and watch this. And there's even a little museum. I think we have a picture of that later, but it's a great fun. Now we're moving down to Baltimore, which is this was sort of one of the first of the new parks, as they call it, built in after to really represent a different kind of baseball experience. Janet Marie Smith, who eventually got to do the renovation of Fenway, was the architect of this one, and I fortunately got to meet her and know her in my career. She was a trustee at Berkeley for a while.
Oh, you knew her very well then.
Yeah, and I worked with her on some neighborhood issues in the Fenway, even as we tried to find space for college buildings. But Camden Park and home of the Orioles, with the famous warehouse in right field, and there's actually a street up there where they actually label all the home runs that have landed up there, and up in back of that right field wall there. I have several others of Camden Yards coming up.
Now, is Camden Yards right near downtown? Is it in downtown Baltimore?
Yeah, it's within a walk of the harbor. It's and you can get good seats there, or you can sit way in the upper deck in left field and watch this. And one of the fun things of going to Camden Yards is they have a terrific tour program. I had a friend from college, and he and I would occasionally go on a little ballpark tour of the Northeast. And
and they take you around the park.
Yeah, and I think we have a little video coming up here of a little piece of that tour.
Gee, we're sitting here with snow outside, and I'm looking at that nice green grass, and I'm saying, spring and summer is on its way.
Yeah,
it was 18 degrees this morning when I got in my automobile.
We've been to a few ball games when it wasn't much warmer than that, including some in Florida. Even when I have this cute picture of Elsa at a game in Florida with a big scarf around her face.
Yeah, no, Florida can get cold.
35
Florida
degrees,
can get cold.
Yeah. But the Camden Park is one that everybody kind of refers to when they talk about nice ballparks. My one complaint about this, and you mentioned critique, is the seats are rather flat. So if you're sitting back in row 30, you're quite a ways from the field, as contrasted when a park is kind of pitched, and you can be a little closer when you're sitting there.
Did you mention that to the architect about the pitching of the seating?
No, I don't know.
Fenway Park to me is, I like Fenway Park, but quite honestly, if you're not in box seats and you're tall, like you and I are,
it's
the
very
leg room is
uncomfortable.
not too good.
No, the cynical response that I got when I complained was that, well, if you're willing to pay a little more, you can have a comfortable seat.
It's true. As I say, you got to be in the box seats, but
I know.
That's an interesting answer, but
that didn't set well with my CFO mindset.
They didn't feel $70 for the regular seating. That was low.
I guess, yeah.
That's how I was at the Celtics Monday night. They really stick you for a price.
Yeah, oh no, I know. It's outrageous. It's it's one of the great things about the minor league parks.
Yes.
The Woo Sox games have been terrific because even though the food is expensive, the seats are economical and the closeness.
It's true,
and
the parking is
very comfortable.
I paid what was I at the ball game? Tuesday night. Underneath the Garden, $54 for the game.
I know.
For the Celtics.
That's ridiculous.
Well, see, 54, and we had some hot dogs and drinks, so you're up to 100. Plus the tickets.
Yeah, I know.
It's an evening.
Yeah, I'll say it is.
Now, tradition is, right, when we're playing the Yankees, we have a foul ball, and Posada comes over here to the Oriole dugout. Oriole's going to help him down these steps.
Yeah, right.
Oh, yeah, right. No. Right? Weeders comes over here. Everybody's helping. You go to the opposite dugout, you are on your own. Nobody's going to help you down. Now, all the teams, Yankees, Red Sox, and everybody like to come here and play for at least two reasons. Look at the power outlets. 364 and 373. Some of the shortest in baseball. Yankee Stadium out there is 399 in left center, okay? Some of the shortest in baseball, and this foul area is one of the smallest in all of baseball. Therefore, foul balls that would normally be caught in other ballparks and stadiums come into here, go in the stands, so a guy gets another rip at the ball. Okay? Now.
Yeah, that was just a little walk around a park that we had when we went down there. We had this tour guide who was really terrific, and he had all kinds of trivia questions. He took us all over the park, and we sat in the dugout, as you can see, and so that was a lot of fun. Fenway
now,
has.
Does Fenway have that for people who
they do.
Other than I know season ticket holders, they invite us to stuff like that, but do regular street people have a opportunity to go on that?
Yes, they do, and I think I have a picture later
on
of one of those coming up. But I also have a thing coming up here now of a rain delay at Baltimore, which gives one a chance to.
Now let me ask you. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, there we go. So here we are, way in the upper deck, and there. A long rain delay, but you could see the sky starting to get blue. But that is one of the hazards of visiting a ballpark. There are some now with domes, but
yep.
But
here's
Baltimore.
A Jack question. How were the sandwiches? How was the food in Baltimore? How did it compare to Boston?
Baltimore was one of my favorite food places, and mindful of that, I have a picture coming up a little later of a great crab sandwich, my best pre-ballpark food that I had anywhere.
Yeah, no, they have that soft shell crab too. Is that what
That's
it was?
what it was.
Oh, the fried soft shell crabs.
Oh,
those are delicious.
Heavenly. That was just heavenly. Yeah, yep. But the next one coming up is is probably something. This will make this diverse, okay? Because this park is, yes, indeed, Yankee Stadium.
Oh, okay. This is the new one.
This is the new one. There's more oak in the corporate area, the box seats, and this was, I don't know, millions and billions of dollars to build. And we went there, and I was disappointed. You know, the old Yankee Stadium, as much it was a hall of nightmares for Red Sox fans, had probably more history in it than any park in the world.
Well, it did, but I will say this, their food court was lousy too, because they had very little space between where you had to wait in line. I remember that was my complaint. I went to get a hot dog, you know, because I always have to eat, and a hot dog and a drink, and it really wasn't much more room than this studio to wait.
No, that's
for the
true.
Food. Yeah,
that is one of the advantages of the new ballparks. Is they have done a great job with the food, and they've made it much more accessible.
And I do know, because I lived in Los Angeles years ago, the Dodgers had a great program. They had a nice dining room. They had very good food service.
Someone wrote a book a number of years ago that my son was when he was involved in the publishing, called Dodger Dogs to Fenway Franks.
Oh, really?
And it's a terrific book. And there have been a number of others. It's an easy book for people to write because it gives you an excuse to travel around the country. I've probably been to about 15 of the parks. So the one coming up next year was definitely one of my favorites. It's another new park, and this is Pittsburgh. And it's right on the river. You can see the bridge in the background and the skyline of the city. And it's just a lovely park. And it's too bad the Pirates are so bad. This is the park at night, and which is just kind of magic, the Pittsburgh Park.
And is it a relatively new park?
Yes, that's one. Yeah, that's one of the probably 10 newest, maybe. PNC Park. Now this is out in Denver, Colorado, where the Rockies play, and this was another very nice park. We ended up buying some tickets on the street from some guy wandering around. I crossed my fingers and hoped I was making a good buy. Well, we ended up 5 rows behind home plate for about half the price.
I don't know what they're doing now, scalpers, because everything's digital.
Yeah, well, these were nice real tickets. I have quite a collection of tickets, even from
probably a good thing to
parks
have.
That I've been. Yeah, you know, they probably will be.
Well, I mean, even the basketball too is all digital. I mean,
so the Denver park was interesting. We had a lot of fun there with the. Here's another view. This is because of the high atmosphere there. There's a lot of home runs, and the ball travels very well in this park. So the upper seats up in right field, I think they probably get balls. But this is one of the more interesting characters that we met in a park. That's kind of one of the fun things. I mentioned the guy that did the tours in Baltimore was a lot of fun to be with, and this guy here was the beer salesman with a big long mustache and all that, and he was just terrific.
And what do they feature? Cores?
That's about it. Yeah,
that's it. Okay.
Yeah, but he was fun talking to.
What did they do in St. Louis for beer? Just Budweiser
I'm
and
sure
those products?
their signs are all over the place.
Yep.
This was now what is now the old park in Dallas, where the Rangers play, and we had seats right in the front row of the upper deck, and we were that railing was very low. We had our grandkids with us. We were terrified we all were going to fall off. I think somebody actually did fall down.
I wouldn't
there.
be surprised.
But you know, some of these cities build ballparks as fast as we build as we grow hot dogs in the Northeast here. Texas now has a brand new park with a dome. Now this is the Houston Park, which is also a relatively new park. And
and this is completely domed.
And yeah, and that dome can either slide on or slide off.
Well, you know, the humidity there in the summer is very, very
their teams,
uncomfortable.
Their teams had problems playing there. But by August, the players would actually be worn out if they didn't, just from playing in the heat all the time, even the night games. But this Houston Park was fun. I don't know if you can see on this picture, but above the left field wall is a little train track. And there's a little train that goes across. I think whenever one of the Astros hits a home run, I think they run the train. This is another excuse for having a trip to a ballpark. These are three of my college buddies. We all got together in New York City. This picture inspired me to go on a diet.
Isn't that great? And you're all still friends.
Well, yeah, and
now, where do they live? The Mets guy, I'm assuming, is a New Yorker? Or?
He lived on Long Island, and we would go and stay overnight at his house, and often go to Belmont maybe, and try to catch 2 Mets games. The guy on the right's a Yankee fan, and the guy in the middle is the guy that I traveled with to a lot of ballparks. So, unfortunately, 2 of them have now passed on.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
This is a nice picture of the front end of Citi Field, which they kind of designed to look a little bit like Abbott's Field, the old ballpark in Brooklyn, with the kind of the rounded shape in the front.
And this is the current Mets field.
Yes, it is. Yeah, yeah. They had Shea Stadium for a while.
Right.
I mean, these cities build all these ballparks. People ask you, how many parks have you been to?
I remember, I think they built Shea Stadium around 1964 with the World Fair.
That's
and
right.
I remember going to the World's Fair, and we saw that beautiful new stadium at the time.
Elsa and I went there on our honeymoon.
Really?
I dragged my wife to a ball game on our honeymoon. we saw Warren Spahn pitch against Bob Gibson.
Look how you remember. Look how you remember.
She probably remembers other things. We also went to the World's Fair.
Good.
The
World's Fair was great. But tell us, this is?
This is the park in Washington, D.C. called Nationals Park, and that's my friend Phil again, where this was part of a trip that we did to New York.
Now, that's down near the Potomac River, I think.
I guess it's in kind of one of the nicer sections of Washington.
Yep.
And we had a bit of a hike from the parking lot to get there. But
I think it's a little near RFK Stadium as well, I think is down near there.
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I've been there for a football game, actually, but once. But Washington was a nice park. That was well built and nicely done. And but you know, more than just the major league parks, going to the minor league games, and we touched on that a little bit in the beginning.
Now,
but
this looks like a minor league.
This is up in Portland. This is where the Red Sox farm team plays, up in Portland.
Oh, okay.
And we went up there because my grandson was visiting from Texas, and the Red Sox had a couple of hot minor leaguers at the time, and we thought if we went up there, we might get to see these kids play.
And you have a good time up there.
Oh, we had a great time, and as you can see, our seats were nice and close to the field, and it was an afternoon game. They tend to draw very well. This is the new park in Worcester when it was under construction. This is Polar Park in Worcester, and I've got a few pictures here coming up of this. The front entrance is very, very attractive. They have an image of a Red Sox World Series ring right there in the lower right-hand corner.
And they have added, I don't know if you won't see it in this picture, but they've added some more parking garages over on the across from this.
Yep, yep. And we actually got to been to a couple games there last year. This is a view from one of the seats. They have a lot of interesting seating areas here. A lot of it is places where you can stand. They came to the conclusion that most people don't want to sit in their seat for an entire ball game, so they find places where you can walk around and have a beer standing up on a concourse or eat some of the food. Elsa and I actually got to this was the first game ever played there, and it was played between Assumption and Southern New Hampshire, I think. It's another college
And you were
game.
there.
And they invited us. I had one of their vice presidents on my fan-to-fan show, and so he called me up and he said, "Hey, would you like to see the first game ever in the park?"
See, and Elsa said to you, "Dave, it finally paid off the show. You got something out of it."
We got something. That was part of the compensation I get for
Congratulations.
get for doing this. So that's a little touch on minor league parks. We've been to
I'm
minor
waiting
league
for one of
parks.
those Russian oligarchs with the 600-foot yachts to call me and say, "Jack, why don't you interview me for Travels with Jack? We'll come on my yacht and we'll go somewhere."
This is now we're going to get into a couple of pictures of spring training, which right now isn't happening, unfortunately. But this is I held my breath and we went to the Yankees Park in Tampa. And we saw this.
Oh, this is their field.
This is
wow,
their field
they got
in
it. Looks
Tampa.
like a pretty big field.
Holds about 10,000 people.
And
Most
they
of
get
them,
crowds, huh?
they sell out.
They sell out.
The Red Sox. This is the Red Sox Park in Fort Myers, and they sell out there too.
So you're saying these teams do pretty good revenue draw down in Florida?
Yeah, the tickets are a little less expensive, probably $40 or so.
Yeah,
or a
but
little
I'm
less.
seeing they look packed.
Yeah. Oh no, the Red Sox haven't had an empty seat there in 10 years.
Really?
Or probably more. But we did have the pandemic this past year, and we're getting into a couple pictures of college parks. This is the park in the University of Texas Park in Texas, and so in order to have social distancing between the seats, they put little cardboard cutouts.
Oh.
And so I had the pleasure of sitting next to this very attractive blonde the day I sat there. So.
And you had to tell Elsa for 10 times, "It's a cutout, it's a cutout."
But we also took my son and his good friend Chris. This is part of a very sad story that I'm going to have to touch on. But this was the last game my son ever saw before he passed away this past year of brain cancer.
So sorry to hear that. I did not know that.
Yeah, but we got to go to a ball game. He actually started a cheer with at the park in memory of one of the players.
And this is your grandson.
That's my grandson, David.
He looks about 20.
David Hornfischer. Yeah, he's a college graduate from the University of Arkansas.
Oh, okay.
This is Texas A&M's park in College Station, Texas, and these colleges, and especially in the South, even the high schools, had these incredible fields.
I was going to say, this was very impressive looking.
This is, they probably hold 10 or 15,000 people.
And they get a good crowd too?
Oh yeah, very much so, yeah.
Really?
The sports are very big in the South, especially.
Well, I went to UMass Amherst, and actually they had a pretty good baseball team, I mean, consistently.
Right. Yeah, Boston College has had some good teams. Yeah. Okay, so we're going to move on from professional sports now to amateur sports, because I told you we were covering a wide range of parks.
Okay.
And the next place I'm going to take you to is a place where our senior citizens team from the Eastern Mass Senior Citizens plays in a tournament down on Cape Cod every year in September. We have a bunch of teams. We have over 60, 65, 70, 75-year-old. And I had the opportunity to play with the 70s. This was the team I was on down there. You can see a bunch of young sluggers here.
No, they look good. You want to know some of the red shirts give you a nice, vibrant look? The pictures are pretty good. You got good pictures?
We are. Yeah, we had a lot of fun. We got shut out in our last game.
How many people would you say in Massachusetts are involved in this senior league that you're part of?
Well, in the EMAS League, we have over 400 players.
You do?
Yeah. I had them on my fan-to-fan show recently.
Really? You have over 400 players?
Yeah.
That's just Eastern Mass?
Ages 50 to 99.
And there's a Western Mass program?
Probably, yeah.
Oh, you're not familiar with it? Okay.
The Cape Cod has a big league, and Southeastern Mass has one.
Now, do some of these people go down to, like, Florida, and you'll have a match down there?
I've played in Florida a couple times in tournaments down there.
As a ringer, or are you going?
No, our team went. We took a team down and we played against them.
So you do. So you put together some winter matches.
Oh, a lot of travel teams. Yeah.
Really? Isn't that terrific?
Yeah. No, it really is.
So now when you say, I'm sorry to if Bill rushes something, I'll tell you. But so you're saying you could set up a game in New York? Or Pennsylvania.
It's not something we'd set up there. There would be a previously set up tournament. California is really big, I understand. I've never been there, but
I mean, you guys will travel to another state.
Some guys will, yeah.
Oh,
and
that's
especially
terrific.
in the winter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it.
Well, the next bunch now we're really going from one end of the spectrum, from big leagues. We're going down, and I've got a number of pictures here that follows our grandson Hutch, who is now pitching in college.
Oh, this is old.
Through a variety of places where he played. First, we had him in Little League, and now he's moved up to a tournament that was held.
Now he's living in Texas?
He's living in Texas. This was an all-Texas tournament in Tyler, Texas, where he was on an all-star team that played up there. And then then he became a player in high school.
Oh my God, he's almost as tall as you there. What is he now?
He's 6'9", 6'8" now. And,
really?
Yeah, and so, yeah, that's me and him in his high school uniform. And then he got to pitch in a summer league in Texas. That was the Round Rock. That was actually in the Round Rock Express Park, and was a team called the Hairy Men, was their name of their team, and that was a lot of fun. And then the following summer, this past summer, here he is down on Long Island. He actually played in a league down out in the Hamptons. He was on the East Hampton team that won the league, and you can see how tall he's gotten there from when he was in the beginning. And
I'm going to say 6'8", 6'9" is a tall baseball player.
I don't think he's 6'9", but he's getting there. But then there he is, number 34. Because when you play in this kind of league, when it starts to rain, the players put the tarp on, and they clean up afterwards. So it's a big thing. So you've seen kind of a wide range of park, and now we're going to go even wider. And you mentioned.
Well, I got to tell you something. I'm very impressed with some of the colleges you've showed.
Yeah, the college parks are incredible,
yeah.
And the spring training ones are very nice. Now we're going to move on to Cuba. You mentioned that before.
I remember our Cuba show, and we did a show. Great group there.
We had a terrific trip. This was part of the softball league, and my son actually got to go with me to play with that. But before we go there, I'm sorry, we're still in the United States here. And one of the fun things that I always enjoy doing is bringing a group of people. And I got very involved with the Hoops and Homework program in Framingham, in South Framingham, which is a great youth program for kids who live down there. I was able, through a connection that I had with the Sox Club, to get us a bunch of bleacher tickets, and we had a large group of people. This is one small bunch of the kids here with the red shirts on, and that was a terrific day at Fenway, and the kids really enjoyed it, and they sent me a very lovely poster that they made afterwards, and that's one of my real memories of. One of the real fun things about going to a ball game is just taking people with me who've never been and get their first impression when they walk in. And what do you think?
It is. You know what? I always say I love going to a ball game in the nice weather, and you can sit and talk, and you have something to eat and drink, and you got a game to watch. I don't know. It's a nice evening.
It is. It is.
Yep. I couldn't agree more.
Now we're going to skip on to the Cuba gang. We had the Cubans here, and in addition to going to Cuba, we had a lot of the Cubans came up to Boston and played with us in Framingham, and over at where we play mostly in Wayland. And this is a group of the guys who were at Fenway for a day, and the Red Sox made a big deal of it, and they honored them on the scoreboard at Fenway with a nice message, and they even had a picture of some of the group of the players here on the field with Wally. And one of the guys on the Cuban team, I asked him when we were there, these are senior guys now in their 70s, but these were some of the best players in Cuba when they were younger. One of them, in fact, had an opportunity to go play with the Pittsburgh Pirates. And Roberto Clemente said, "See that Cadillac out there? That can be yours if you want it." And the guy couldn't leave his family, and he couldn't do it. And when we got to Fenway and we watched the game, he was standing next to me. I said, "You could have played here, right?" And he says, "Yeah, I was better than that shortstop." But the Cubans and the Cubans and the Eastern Mass guys had a great game on the field in Boston.
I think they had to give a piece of their pay to the government, by the way.
Oh, they probably did.
Yeah.
It's a mess.
To get the authorization to.
We had a nice lunch with the Cubans. This guy in the middle here is the guy I was talking about, and that's Louis Tion, who came to this restaurant in South Boston. We had a lovely lunch with Louis, and then as I mentioned before, we did go to Cuba to play. This was the lineup before we played both national anthems. That was a high point. That's me and my son Jim on the far right, and then I have a picture of Jim and I coming up together. He had just turned 50, so he qualified to go. And he played third base and I played first, and we had some Hornfischer to Hornfischer plays for the first time in history. And
isn't that great that your grandson too enjoys baseball?
Oh yeah, he's really into it.
Well, you say it almost really like automatically, that you don't very often have 3 generations of a family that are interested in the same thing. Yeah, right. I think it's a little unusual.
But one of the other fun things about the ball teams are their mascots, and the Red Sox, of course, have Wally, who is everybody's favorite at Fenway, and they especially at the spring training games, they make an effort to get him around. That was a Sox Club luncheon that he was at. You can see the logo there. I was very involved in that. That's a Red Sox fan club that has lectures with players, and that's a great thing for $99 a year. If you're a real fan, you want to join the Sox Club. I'll give them a little pitch here, but that was a lot of fun. But there's the Sox symbol. The happy face was actually invented in Worcester. It was a Worcester guy that came up with the idea,
really?
And the Sox decided to build that into their mascot. So I forget his name, but that's their team symbol.
That's all right. I think one of the holiday greeting cards or something was originally a Worcester person. A
yes. Yeah. Oh, really?
Put it together. Yeah.
This is a couple of the mascots when Worcester was when they were in Paw Sox. Those are the Paw Sox mascots. But the mascots in Washington were probably the most fun. They have 4 of them all dressed up as presidents. That's Teddy Roosevelt and is that Franklin, maybe the other one? And they have a race before every game on the field, and they try and have the fans guess who's going to win, and they put it up on the big TV screen and at the park, and these guys all flop around and they fall down and push each other down, and they make quite a scene out of it. Milwaukee has a kind of a similar thing that they do with hot dogs and sausages.
Oh, really?
Around. Yeah, mascots.
They do what? Fun. The bratwurst, I bet, at the Milwaukee Stadium.
But the Bravehearts, which are a collegiate league that plays out of Worcester, that's another terrific venue for seeing a game. Well, I think it's the start of the 7th inning or something. Their mascot, and they invite all the kids who are in the park to come and run across the park. So the players all kind of stand there and watch as this horde of kids comes running around chasing the mascot across the ballpark, and that's kind of a fun thing. But as you can see, there's just such a wide range of ways to enjoy a baseball park. From big major league parks to senior citizens games to little league games
to
you're really minor league games, games in the summer, games internationally. One of my great mistakes that I made in life is that I went to Japan once.
Yeah, and you didn't go to a ball game.
I didn't go to a ball game, and I was in a situation where it could have happened. And
well, let me tell you something. It's fun, because I went to a game in Japan.
Did you?
I most certainly did. Yeah. And it was a covered stadium, and they had all kinds of great food venues outside of kind of the shell of the stadium. And inside, and the audience was very big beer drinkers at the game.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. Oh, my God. They just kept, pouring beer, and it was fun. Yeah, we had a good time.
Yeah, and the fans all sit
Even
in
my
a certain
wife liked
section.
it. She went. My daughter happened to have been with us, and we had a good time. I do remember it.
Well, we had a great trip to Japan with some Berkeley musicians one time, and we didn't get to go to a ball game. And
next time you could still go.
I will. I have.
You could still go. In fact, I think we took the subway there. It wasn't. Their subway system is terrific and very safe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, you can get around.
So
now we're
let's
back
see.
to Boston.
Well, we talked about Fenway Tours, and that's one of the fun things to do at Fenway. They run these tours every day, I think about 11 o'clock and 2 o'clock if the Red Sox aren't home or something. And you can actually walk around the park, stand in front of the Green Monster, go up through the suites and see where the broadcast system is. And it really is, it's a unique feeling to stand on that field with that wall in back of you. They call it the Green Monster. And when you're standing there, it just towers over you and you feel so closed in.
Oh, really? So it really does feel, because when you're sitting in the stands, it doesn't look that tremendous. I mean.
No, but when you stand on the field and just kind of feel it, and you know, there's actually people who've gone on these tours and taken their deceased relatives' ashes.
Oh, really?
And,
really? They really do that?
Yeah, and
where's Grandpa? He's between third base and the
the Red Sox try to discourage it, but fans
I would think so.
Fans go to great length to kind of pull this off.
Oh, my goodness.
But
Elsie, you're listening to him. That's what he wants.
This is another little. We were in the Baltimore dugout before. This is another picture of the tour in Baltimore.
And that was your tour guide you were crazy about.
Yeah, that's my friend Phil down there. And that when in the wintertime, we even got to have a tour through the Red Sox Clubhouse. This is the clubhouse at Fenway Park. I think that's Bogarts' shirt number 2 there. And we went by Big Poppy's locker, and it was interesting to see what some of the players left stuff there over the winter. And this may have been during the season because the lockers look pretty full.
Oh, so they have kind of an open locker situation.
Yeah, right. Yeah, they all. It isn't really a locker. I guess they restrict. It's is what it is. So then we're going to move on to sort of museum-y type stuff. In addition to ballparks, many cities and many places have various types of museums and all that. And one of the favorite ones that I went to, and you probably have a hard time guessing this one. This is the Louisville Slugger.
I was going to say, he's making bats.
This is the Louisville Slugger Bat Factory and Museum. And part of the factory, they have a lovely museum with a lot of baseball history of famous people who've used bats from, going back to the 1800s. I think the Louisville Slugger has been around since the 1800s. They have a guy with a bat that's about the size of my leg. That was huge, and this is the ash and the maple that they actually mess a piece of raw wood that they're getting ready to start work. I thought that was kind of an interesting way.
And how long does it take them to, do they do these actually by hand, like I'm seeing him put it on the lathe, or is it more automated?
It's a mix. There is a fair amount of handwork that goes into them, especially the specialization for individual players and their logos.
So a custom bat is and what do you think a custom bat would sell for today?
Oh my goodness, that's a good question. They actually have one that you can have made for yourself.
Yeah.
And they'll put your name on it. I have one, but
do you remember what they charged you?
I don't know. It might have been $50.
Okay.
It wasn't that expensive.
Okay.
And I have a huge collection of baseball memorabilia. But in terms of statues, this is the one you recognize outside of Fenway Park with the teammates, as they were called, with Ted Williams and Bobby Dorr and Johnny Pesky and Dom DiMaggio on the far right, and that's out behind the center field bleachers at Fenway. And then this is a slide that's actually backwards. If you're a real baseball fan, and I told you this was Robin Roberts, the famous Philly pitcher, you would say Robin was a right-hander. And somehow or other my picture, when I got it, came out as him as a left-hander. In fact, his name is backwards on the bottom of the statue. But most of the parks, when you go to them, they will have some kind of outdoor memorabilia or statue or something of some of the heroes and all that, which is really kind of fun. Of course, the most famous place for baseball history is Cooperstown, which is where the Hall of Fame is. And people might think of going into the Hall of Fame, but they actually have an old ballpark there. This is kind of the park that you and I park might have looked like that we might remember when we were kids.
So what teams play there?
They have local teams, and they have a major league game every year. They have a Hall of Fame game that gets played there, and they have a variety of other.
And are we going to get a few pictures of Cooperstown?
Well, that picture was Cooperstown.
I know of the museum itself.
Oh, no, that's one thing I forgot to put in here. I've been there a number of times.
Did you like it?
Well, actually, this picture here actually came from the museum in Cooperstown. This was with the Women's League. I thought I needed a tribute to the women baseball players, and this was the Women's League that was a professional women's league during World War II.
I remember I saw a movie, I think.
A League of Our Own with Gina Davis. And,
it was a good movie.
And Madonna was the third baseman, I think, and she was great. And a famous line came from that, there's no crying in baseball.
Yeah. Oh, so but
was,
Cooperstown, you did enjoy. You think it's a good trip for?
Oh, we loved
somebody
it.
to
It's absolutely terrific.
Yeah.
It's a great day, and you know they have this big argument now about whether the guys who did steroids should be honored there, but their pictures are all over the place anyway in different ways. But no, it's a great take to go there. They have a film room with them doing Who's on First and
Abbott and Costello. Yeah.
And but as I mentioned, a lot of the parks have a lot of history inside. We have a picture here. I think this was in New York with a little display for Jackie Robinson's famous number 42, which is honored. And that number has now been retired from baseball, and every park.
Looks like they put a Red Sox hat on them.
No, that's a B for Brooklyn.
Oh, is that what it is? It looks
Dodgers.
like the same B we get.
And then the Worcester Park, in the
tribute to Ted
lounge,
Williams.
they have this lovely picture of Ted Williams. I couldn't do a show without having a Ted Williams picture in here. Ted was my idol growing up, and as probably most anybody in New England my age anyway, even as a tunnel. I have a little picture of the tunnel when they were building it, and before the Red Sox started winning all these pennants, I said, "Do you think Ted will ever put a light at the end of this tunnel?" But they did, and they built it, and the Worcester Park, where they have in their upper level, they have a lovely lounge and with some great artwork. And some,
really?
I have a couple more pictures of the Worcester thing coming up
I'll
here.
have
but
to go over there.
This is the new Yankee Stadium. They have honors to all of the retired Yankees with images of them up above, and looks like Roger Maris, I think, is the first one, but I think Babe Ruth must be in there, and Lou Gehrig, and all those famous Yankee names through the years. And a lot of the parks have a Hall of Fame. The Red Sox have one, and this is the one from St. Louis. Excuse me, with Stan Musial and some of those other famous names, the Gas House Gang of the 1930s, who were my grandfather's favorite team.
Oh, he was a baseball fan too?
He was a baseball fan. I have his glove, which is a little piece of leather.
And what about your dad?
My father got me into it, took me to the park, and hit fungos to me all the time.
And where were they from originally, your folks?
Connecticut. Well, my grandfather was from Switzerland, but
oh, okay.
But I grew up in Western Connecticut.
Oh, all right. Oh, he was Swiss.
Yeah.
He must have been a good skier.
I don't know. I don't think he was only 10 when he left there.
Oh,
so.
he was. They do a lot of skiing, the Swiss.
But the little Hall of Fames. Now this is an interesting story that's kind of has a nice, interesting local twist that I discovered. We all know the foam Casey at the bat.
Yes.
Okay. Well, the Worcester area, Worcester Park has a nice tribute to Casey because this poem was actually written by a guy from Worcester. Thayer was his last name, and he wrote the poem Casey at the Bat.
Really?
And they talk a lot about in the poem about the Mudville Nine, and it turns out Mudville turns out to be Holliston.
Okay.
And they have the whole thing is about this little town of Mudville, and there's the Holliston Superette, I think, has a corner where they will have a little deli, and they will actually make you a Mudville sandwich.
So that's what Mudville was.
So Mudville turns out to be Holliston, and there's a picture coming up here of the Mudville Nine that was.
I want you to at some point you'll explain your nice collection here of when you get a space in between the pictures.
Maybe they can zoom in on it a little bit, but yeah, we can talk about that kind of in the. Then a lot of there's another local Framingham connection here coming up in one of these next history section that I have. And in Pittsburgh, for example, the first World Series was between the Red Sox and the Pirates in 1903. And the Pittsburgh Stadium, which I had a few pictures before of, they have this sign up there, and along with a whole bunch of other ones, the famous Pirates and all that. But I thought that was worthy of a photo. And then they also have the retired numbers of famous Pittsburgh Pirates, which will be the next photo coming up here. And if you can see, the one right in the middle there is Pie Traynor. And Pie Traynor was actually born in Framingham.
Oh, okay.
I have some of his old baseball cards, not originals. I couldn't afford those, but and on the back of all of them they say "Born in Framingham," and the local history center didn't know too much about that. We've explored that a little bit, and we know where in town that his birth house was, but he apparently left here at a very young age and didn't leave much of a footprint in Framingham.
The Pittsburgh team, I think, at one time was owned by Bing Crosby, or partially owned.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, there's Pie Trainer right there from his card, who is actually from Framingham. So I think that's an interesting connection here with the history. Of course, what would be a baseball thing without who's on first, right? Break your arm if you say who's on first. What's on second? I don't know who's on third. And if you get into any baseball fan, they will all be able to tell you about this Abbott and Costello routine.
That's a famous routine. Yep.
They had a great. They have the video on a movie screen in Cooperstown in one of their things up there, which is just so much fun. I had a doctor whose name was Who. And so I made a comedy routine. You'd say, "Dave, who was your doctor?" And I'd say, "Yes." You know, and I went on from there. I'm not going to bore us here with that routine.
That's all right.
The doctor, anyway. But that was that was the first comedy bit that I did when I was doing stand-up comedy.
Now, tell me a little bit while we're here on the baseballs.
Well, I got quite a collection of balls here from different places there. In addition to the ballparks, there's also some from museums. There's a Red Sox one, and of course the World Series one. The ball in the middle there is a Japanese ball that my sister-in-law gave me. It's in glass. It's got some Japanese language on it. There's the Cape Cod League ball, and ones in the middle are the U.S. Navy has a ball. There's a Babe Ruth Museum ball in the far left. This whole row here are all team balls from the Pirates, the Nationals, the Mets, the Rangers, the Phillies, and the Cardinals. That from trips to parks I have made, I always come home with a ball. The bottom row is kind of an interesting one. The Grand Canyon, the third one from the left, even has a baseball. The Dolly Museum in St. Petersburg, Florida, had a baseball. That was probably the place I was most surprised to find a baseball. Is the Disney World one on the left, and on the far right and left is our spring training from Arizona. And opening day at Fenway Park one year, they had a special baseball for just that game.
Well, I'm impressed with some of those. They're very good looking.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of, that we're going to kind of move on here to some of the fun of baseball here. And we've got this next section coming up here of Fenway, Fenway, they took over the street along Ballpark, formerly called Yankee Way, now called Jersey Street, I guess, to make it politically correct.
I still call it Yankee Way.
Yeah, don't we all? But anyway, they have this guy, the big tall guy, the guy with the stilts running around throwing baseballs to the kids, and they've got the gift shops, and it's just part of the way that they try to make the experience be far more than just going to the ball game. And they even have a swimming pool in the park out in Phoenix where the kids can go swim during the game. But you asked about food, and here comes the food picture. There's the crab cakes from Baltimore. My favorite meal ever at a ballpark that I've been to. They really try to do all they can to make the event fun. I think that's baseball is becoming a difficult game to watch. Young people don't like it because it moves so slow. And so they have to try and find ways to make the whole event of going to a game more fun. And Worcester has really captured that concept with what they're doing now with all the different seating areas they have. And they even have a place where the kids can play wiffle ball out behind the center field.
I very often give customers tickets, and the families love going. They always say to me, "God, my kids had such a good time. It was great. Thank you." You say adults, it depends the adult's situation, but people with, very often with children, grandchildren, whatever, nieces, nephews, they do go and have a great time. The kids love going.
Well, when they built the Worcester Park, they wanted it to hold 10,000 people, but they only put in 6,500 seats.
Oh, really?
The other 3,500 are a burn out in left field where you sit in the grass, and they've got seats up on, little cocktail table seats here, there, and everywhere, and places to walk around and stand and watch and keep moving. Places, as I said, where the kids can go and play wiffle ball.
Yeah. But so you're saying essentially the better seating is about 6,500.
That's right. That's what they say. Yeah. Because the people don't want to sit in there. I mean, when I go to a game, I'd like to sit there with my scorecard and keep score.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen with today's generation.
Yeah. No, I understand. But, you know, I still, I don't know, I haven't taken my little grandchildren yet. I think I took my granddaughter once we went. But they had a good time. You know, she had a good time.
Well, they try to do a lot of things to make, I mean, one of the traditions at Fenway, of course, is the wave. You know, and you have to watch that go around. I think when I had a period where I'd go to about 20 Red Sox games a year, and the longest wave I saw was one that went around about 9 times.
Wow.
I think. And it always went from right to left, but one night it went the other way. I don't know why. It was one of the, I always say when I go to a game, something happens that I've never seen before. It may be the left fielder caught 4 balls in 1 inning or something, and one didn't count or something. But you know, sometimes it's something as obscure as the wave went the other way.
I like that. That's an interesting.
But they do a lot to try. A lot of the parks have fireworks. This is the Bravehearts. I think they do fireworks. I think every Friday night after the game. And you know, it's all designed to kind of build the fan experience.
Is that covered or is that snow?
That is snow.
I was going to say
I put that in
like
there. I put this in here for 2 reasons. One is the Red Sox.
To remind us we live in New England.
The Red Sox used to have this fun event called Christmas at Fun Fenway, where you could go in and buy tickets just before Christmas, and they'd have a bunch of players signing autographs, and they'd have a tag sale where they tried to get rid of shirts of players who weren't with the Red Sox anymore. But you know, wintertime at the ballpark, all the teams are trying to do a lot more. The Red Sox have a lot of concerts now. Yes. Billy Joel, I think, has been there a number of times, and Elsa and I saw Bruce Springsteen there. It was the first show I think he did. And in fact, they even have hockey games and football games. Framingham High beat Natick there a couple of years ago in a football game. So they try and do more with the park to make it be you know, more than just something that gets used for 80 baseball games. But then there's we get back a little touch of senior softball. We've been talking about Red Sox lore. Well, that guy in the middle there is a Red Sox that you might recognize. Sort of looks like Big Papi to me, David Ortiz, who showed up at our EMAS senior softball game one day, doing a commercial for I believe it was John Hancock or some insurance company, and he was talking about what do you do in retirement. So Big Papi came out and he sat on the bench and yacked it up with the players, and he went up to the plate and he proceeded to hit one about 98 miles that went way into the other field. He even went out and played an inning at first base, which he wouldn't do much for the Red Sox. But now that he's a senior, I guess he felt he could go and play in the infield, and threw some infield to the guys, which unfortunately I wasn't there that day, but friends gave me these pictures. But that was a thing. Now this is an interesting family story. We talked about family stories. My son and my son's sister's niece married a guy from Germany, and he came over and he was at our house for a Thanksgiving dinner. And we said, well, we have to go out and play ball. And so we ended up out we were taking a walk over the woods and around in Framingham, and we brought a wiffle ball with us, and here we are playing wiffle ball in the woods with a guy from Germany. Who had never hit a baseball before. That's him batting.
Good-looking picture.
And he hit it pretty well. And I mean, that just kind of symbolizes, I think, the fact that a baseball park can be anywhere. You know, and all you need is a ball and a bat. And this is another interesting story. After Elsa's brother passed away, he always whenever he was with us, he always wanted us to get a game together and do something. So we had a memorial ball game for him at one of the fields in Fenway, in Framingham. And that's my nephew Elsa's nephew from Florida, who I think has played baseball once or twice in his life. And that's the little grandson there, who's now the 6'8" pitcher. And we had quite the day of a family ball game, just whacking a wiffle ball around. And then those.
Look at that! You got your name up there, Dave and Hutch.
Well, those are my 2 grandsons from Austin, Texas.
Yep.
who were there, and we had seats one day, and my connections through the Sox Club, I found out that I could get their name up on the scoreboard if I contacted with the right people. And so there we were, and it popped up there, and that's a piece of family history that we have that is treasured, I think, by all of us.
I love it.
And then the Bo Sox Club has Family Day, and there's our tall son who was mentioned. I passed away this past year, and his son, that's the tall kid again, and that we got to sit in the bleachers during batting practice, and they all caught a home run ball. This ball came towering in the sky. My son brought his glove with him, and I said, "What are you bringing a glove for?" And he said, "You wait and see." And
he was right.
Somebody hit a towering ball, came right down. If he didn't have his glove, it would have hit him in the head.
That?
And my grandson ran around and picked up a whole bunch of balls as well. And that was that's a happy moment. As you can see, I have a lot of pictures here of my son in various parts of baseball, and my grandson, because we infected them all with a love of baseball. And when Jim passed away this past year, a writer, he was a literary agent, and a woman who had written a book for him arranged to have this tribute put up at Fenway Park, which was sort of a lasting memory to Jim, and something that was touched our hearts very much. And so Fenway is a great place in life and death, and some people's ashes are even spread
that's quite
there.
The story. That's quite the story that you told me, with some people sneak the ashes over there. Well, I got to say,
that wraps it up?
Did we miss any? Well, I got to thank you for coming today.
Jack,
wonderful to have you again, and it was a great story today. I'm very impressed. I did not know they made all these fancy customized baseballs. I'll have to start collecting a little bit when I go somewhere. I didn't know it.
Access Framingham TV probably even has their own. They have a football.
They have a little this football. Is terrific. And what are you going to tell us about the next time? Have you got a trip that you're going to share with us coming up?
Well, we'll have to think about that. We haven't taken a trip in a while.
Well,
so with
it's time. COVID is subsided in the sense we're going to live with it, and it's time to get out there and travel. I'm going away soon. And
where are you going?
I'm off to Doha, Qatar.
Really?
Yep.
Wow.
And then from there, I'm going down to the Seychelles Islands.
Wow.
Yeah. And then from there, I'm on a ship, and we're going to Egypt, which I've been. I love Egypt.
Well, you are the traveler.
Yeah, no.
We'll have to have you come back, and I'll host you. We'll call it Travels with Dave.
Bill only throws me in if he's got an open. If he says to me, he goes, "I got nothing to do." He says, "Jack, we're going to throw you on the screen." I says, "All right, you'll fill the spot."
Well, I thought this would make a different kind of travel show.
This was great. This was terrific, and always of interest, and you're a great guest. So thank you again. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you soon.
Thank you, Jack.